first, you want to open up your instruction file, and it's gonna actually tell you how to print at home. You'll have your instruction file, your projector file, your AO file, your trim file, and your trim list file. So open up the instruction file. From here, you're going to be at the table of contents. This is going to have your tutorial and then your appendices, right? So it's going to give you tools and materials, the body measurements, and how to pick your size. You don't go from ready to wear size. You have to measure to figure out what size you're in. There's a stretch guide, and then here at Appendix D, which is usually where you'll find the printing instructions for printing at home, is where you'll find the print at home printing instructions, okay? So it will, some of them hyperlink, this one does, so we'll hyperlink to that page. And now from here, it says this guide doesn't apply to the AO file. So you're gonna have an AO file. That is for sending to like a print shop. You can email it to them. I believe you can take it down to like a local one. That you cannot do from home unless you have a printer that accommodates humongous paper. Okay, so here it's telling you, open the pattern piece file in Adobe Reader. This is essential. You have to use Adobe Reader for desktop to properly print. And then from there, you can decide if you want to turn some layers off. If you're printing from home, I do suggest that you figure out what kind of paper you have. You either have US letter paper if you're in the United States, or A4 paper. So whichever one you don't have, turn that layer off, because one's going to be a red line, one's going to be a blue line, and when you are taping your trim list pages together, you're going to be like, what line do I use? Which it tells you here in the instruction if we keep on reading, but I still get a lot of questions. What line do I use? So turn whichever one off of the paper that you are not using. Okay, this is for trim lists. If you use the trim file, you're not even going to have this option, so don't worry about it. This is the projector file. You cannot print this at home. This is only for projecting. If you have a projector, you can project this file onto your pattern pieces and then cut them out that way. You cannot use this file for printing. I mean, you can, but it's not going to be right. Now, here is the AO file I was talking about. This is the one that you send to your print shop. They print it for you. It's a great option, but also, unless you have a big printer, you can't print this at home. Here is our trim page file. Okay, this is the one that I was telling you is not going to have that red and blue line option. This one, you're going to trim around the outsides and then tape them together that way. This is a great option if you do not have Adobe Reader and you're trying to print on a program like Foxit. So we go to the little printer up here, and here are the settings. And there is a picture of this inside of your instruction file, okay? So the first thing that you want to do is to make sure you're printing actual size. Okay, and then the next thing you want to remember to do is you only want to print the first page, because you have to check the scale. So that's that 4 centimeter square or the 1 inch square, depending on, you know, what your preferred units are. All right, these are your trim list pages. These are the pages that you don't have to trim the outside of the paper. You see there is the blue line and the red line, okay? So if you're using US letter size paper, you will butt the edge of the next page to that blue line, okay? The red dotted line is if you're using A4 paper. Same thing that we did with the trim. We're going to go in. We're only going to print actual size. And we're only going to print that first page because we have to check the scale. So here we have just page 1 from our trim page file and page 1 from our trimless page file. I have a 6-inch rule over my 1-inch square. I'm just making sure that it is 1 inch. You can check the 4 centimeter if you use that. The trimless page checked out. I'm measuring the trim page and it also checks out. It's important to keep in mind that when you're measuring, to maybe not use the edges because damage could happen to the edges, right? So I actually start 1 inch in. And this is a steel rule, so I don't have to worry about it warping like you would with a tape measure that you would use for your chest measurement. Those can stretch out over time. So keep those things in mind when you're measuring. And we're good to go. So now I can continue to print the rest of my pages. I can turn, the layers off for the sizes that I don't need. And I have a whole nother video for that if you are interested. It is also in the instruction file on how to do that, how to use layers. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and happy sewing.